how coronavirus devastated the global economy. I'll be talking about four things today, which is highly affected countries, the impact on airlines, global expenses, and adaptation. First of all, the countries with the highest recessions caused by COVID-19, meaning that these are the countries that were affected in a economically way, and also many people got affected by this, meaning that a lot of people lost their jobs during this time. A lot of businesses had to close down. So many people lost, some of them lost their homes. Many people had passed away due to that. Many things kept on. At this point in time, this is when debt as well started increasing, since many people started borrowing more money as to buy more groceries and things. And during this time, since there was starting to be a low supply on many things, demand became high. Demand became really high. For example, one of the biggest ones that became really demanded was toilet paper, and the supply was beginning to be low. So the prices had increased on toilet paper a lot, and in these countries, a lot of people were struggling per se, since these are highly populated countries. Many people started losing their jobs, meaning they had no income. No income equals to basically struggling, and then if you continue, it's equal to poverty. Many people became homeless. Many people became poor. A lot of people suffered in within these countries itself. These are the highest ones that suffered. And the other thing to talk about is the flights. Well, as we all know, during COVID, no one could go traveling to different countries. No one wanted to travel. Everybody wanted to stay home. There was many lockdowns and things, and the airports had suffered a lot, a lot. As you can see here in USA to other regions, there were 200,000 canceled flights. There's more. There was more. But the thing is, these weren't just like flights from just going to one country or another. This was within the region as well, like literally within its country itself. Let's say they're flying from Houston to Miami, and many people cancel their flights as well for that. Not just from country to country, but from state to state as well. And this had incurred basically 100 billion plus in losses. 25 million passengers in total had canceled their flights, and basically per flight there was 120 per flight, meaning the airports had had the biggest loss in like quite a while. So COVID-19 had really struck airports itself, and not just in the US, in many other countries. Many airports had to close down. Many airports couldn't do no flights due to lockdowns. And people who worked at the airports that started losing their jobs as well. Many pilots lost their jobs. Many attendants, especially, lost their jobs. People who worked at the counter desk and everything lost their jobs. Airports had a quite significant amount of unemployment turning up, and this had really impacted a lot of people, their lives as well, because many people depended on this, and flights from other regions to other countries as well, since many people depended on, especially tourists. For example, our country Belize, we depended on tourists a lot as well, and since this was a highly trafficked area by tourists, we had suffered a lot. Our economy drastically went spiraling down, since our main source of economy here was tourism, and canceling flights from other regions. Many people could have reached here. No flights could have reached here because we were on lockdown as well. So our tourism places suffered a lot as well. Many people within this country as well lost their job. Many people who studied to be a tourism started to be in tourism and stuff lost their jobs. They couldn't even gain jobs. Many places had closed down, and this just basically canceling flights itself really affected many other things as well, such as people couldn't go back to their own countries. People couldn't take stuff to their different countries. Exportations or importations got locked down, and flights in general and shipments and all that had really incurred so much losses. Next is global expenses due to coronavirus. Well, the UK had committed 91 million euros just to combat coronavirus itself. They were one of the few countries who had really given up a lot just to go up against the combated coronavirus and donating to scientific research in order to find a cure and things. They had donated a lot. Madrid, Spain, basically Spain, Madrid, they invested in sanitary supplies from China since they were one of the people who were they were one of the countries who were hit strong by the virus itself. Since Spain as well is a highly trafficked area, they had many people who took the virus over there, and it really spread like a wildfire in Spain. And USA had emergency coronavirus spending bill. This 8.3 billion included both they included a lot of things: sanitary supplies, the stimuluses, the the grants and all that they used to give to people. That's all they include in the USA's emergency spending bill, 8.3 billion. And then Italy's fiscal rescue package for this was just a stimulus and basically to help out the people within Italy itself. As you can remember seeing in the map itself, Italy seemed really small here, like a small country compared to USA and China, but in reality they had suffered a lot more within their country since their people were suffering a lot more since as well Italy, a highly trafficked place as well, many people like going to Italy. The virus spread went way overboard there, and many people started dying, many people started suffering a lot, many people started becoming homeless, many people lost their jobs. The restaurants, Italy is known for their restaurants. A lot of restaurants had closed there, and many restaurant owners started like basically having no revenues. They had a lot of more expenses, and in order to keep their restaurant as well, because you have to pay a certain fee as well to in order to run a restaurant, like a trade license. And Italy had just had a break from that as well. They gave the people a break as well. That's why it amounts to 25 billion, since they gave a break to many more people as to let them have a, like, let's say, um, a truce or a peace period, as where they don't have to pay at all for a certain amount of time. And then adaptation to the coronavirus. Many people, businesses, and countries itself started adapting to the virus itself. Companies most of the time now started working from home, basically telecommuting, and this became one of the norms for 2 years, where teachers and people that work in offices started working from home. They bought their computers, their headsets, and they started teaching. They started working. They started attending people from home and started working from home basically. And this made schools have a breakthrough within our country, and now many schools are incorporating online teachings, and this adaptation really helped the schools improve more on technology within our country. Some distilleries started using alcohol to make hand sanitizer. They adapted since many people stopped buying alcohol since they wanted to buy on sanitary supplies. So many started using their alcohol and start making hand sanitizers, and they started producing these and supplying it, and it became a really good business for them since it really made quite a lot of money. And a lot of clothing companies switched to making face masks since there was a high demand in face masks, and many people started producing these in certain ways, like start customizing, and they really took advantage of this and used it to their own benefit, and they really benefited a lot from it. Many markets closed down as well since their consumers, which are restaurants, as I had stated before, restaurants had to close down. So markets didn't have anyone to supply to, since restaurants are mainly the people who buy in bulks from the markets, and they didn't really have any people to supply vegetables, fish, meat, and all that. So they closed down as well. Many closed down, some stayed open, but barely had customers going in. And the platform that really benefited a lot was the streaming platforms. A lot of people started going more into streaming, and they started having more people go into streaming, gaming. They started teaching online. Everything went online basically. For instance, it was a complete isolation and lockdown. Everything had to be done online, and many companies, well, platforms and stuff adapted to this and started providing certain platforms for people to use. And that is all for my presentation.